Welcome to Burning Bright, a weekly podcast presenting poetry and prose from Passager. Father's Day is coming up, and for a lot of families that means cooking out. I couldn't find any stories or poems about cooking out, but here are a couple about fathers and food. Ruth Holzer said that this first poem was based on one of her father's childhood recollections. She said, "I like to put these old narratives into poems in order to preserve some of the flavor of a world that has pretty much disappeared." Here's Ruth Holzer's poem, His Fish. Monday, his mother would select a white, unblemished carp, fresh from the market, and carry it home in a pail. All week it swam around in the clawfoot bathtub. My father treated it like the pet he never had. Fed it crumbs and stroked its curious head, tickled its fins, whispered to it. On Friday, it went under the knife, and with onions and potatoes became the family supper. Its flesh was so alive, he said, it would quiver on his plate. Such an imagination he had. His Fish, by Ruth Holzer, from Passager, issue 70. Greg Moglia said that his poem Cheeseburger and Fries was inspired by a trip with his brother and his wheelchair-bound father down a major highway to McDonald's. He said, "It left me with a scary joy when it ended," as did the poem. Dad in a wheelchair at the nursing home, brother and I with a "why not, the food's lousy, get him to McDonald's down the highway. Take turns pushing him to a cheeseburger and fries." Dad's a hefty guy, but we say, "No big deal," and off we go. Here's the main road, but no sidewalk, a narrow shoulder. "Let's do it anyway," and me first, whoosh, then whoosh, whoosh. Dad says, "Kinda close." I think Dad's kinda scared, and so am I, whoosh. Now comes the first hill, and "Your turn, brother." He starts to push when a trailer, whoosh, and Dad's hat flies off into the fast lane. I look left, right, I dash out, and Dad's head is warm again. Brother trades with me over a second hill. We're too old for this. Where the hell are those goddamn arches? Finally, at Hilltop 5, yes! And Dad gets his burger, gobbles it down, his mouth and chin a ketchup mess. Good, huh? Yeah. And those 4 hills back, somehow faster, somehow easier. Somehow a tiny payback for the years of his postal worker days, with every penny held tight, every ache held small, like the Depression, even the toilet paper wrapper put to use. In these last days, it's all about get Dad to the next meal, the next hour, the next breath. We don't care if it's a pain in the ass. Cheeseburger and Fries by Greg Moglia, from Passager, issue 64. Here's a poem by Shirley Brewer, from her book A Little Breast Music. Between Trains. My father drove us into the country to watch trains on Sunday afternoons in summer, the sun a golden gumball. We heard a series of whistles startle the air, felt vibrations in our young bones. Even though it made us dizzy, we counted cars. My brother's sing-song, my sister's 1, 4, 6, my fingers moving like castanets, the caboose a red blaze. We waved at the engineers until sunburned arms grew sore in their sockets, our voices a trickle, throats soothed by Cokes and crackers thick with cream cheese. Between trains, my father made up tunes he played on a silver harmonica that dazzled in the light. Beneath the breeze-filled trees, he closed his eyes and cradled his songs. I can see his skinny legs. Around his ankles, loose brown socks, like bird nests fallen from a branch. Between Trains by Shirley Brewer, from her book A Little Breast Music. Shirley's birthday was this month, by the way. If you run into her, wish her a happy birthday. Finally this, from Cheng Tsung's book Oxhorn Bend. My father rarely talked about his childhood. So it was a treat the day he took me kite flying and told me about kite competitions with his brothers in old Beijing. He was always the winner. I still remember the blue kite with its thin blue paper and light wooden ribs, and the balls of string that came in the assembly kit. It was an unusually cool afternoon with a good breeze when we launched it in our backyard. The kite soared into the cloudless atmosphere. I was on my third ball of yarn when I heard an aircraft approaching and quickly lowered my kite. It might hit the plane, I explained in response to my father's quizzical look. When the plane glided by, just as my kite ducked, I was elated and felt the warmth of my father's smile. An excerpt from Cheng Tsung's book, Oxhorn Bend. To buy Oxhorn Bend or A Little Breast Music, or either of the Passenger issues featured in this episode, or to subscribe to or learn more about Passenger and its commitment to writers over 50, go to passengerbooks.com. You can download Burning Bright from Spotify, Apple and Google Podcasts, and various other podcast apps. For Kendra, Mary, Christine, Roseanne, and the rest of the Passenger staff, I'm John Shore.